been infected by alien spores, might want to get yourself checked out. So she goes, she realizes that, hey, according to the evil robot, once again it's been brought up in other reviews, why is it that all these robots are automatically evil? Could they just be neutral? But no, they automatically seem, as I'm quoting like some other reviews, but I totally concur with them, that it's like, really, they just automatically default to evil? You know, they're robots, okay? And anything, they're going to be just neutral, just flat out neutral, neither good nor bad, just kind of in between, maybe kind of ambivalent or apathetic. But no, this guy is just downright malicious, you know?
Well, I mean, they tried to make him into some sort of corporate slave, you know what I mean? Where he's just obeying his orders from headquarters or whatever.
He's like an evil Data from Star Trek.
Yeah.
That's another thing that I had with this movie, once again going out and just like little different tangents, is that this film has not, whoever wrote this script should be sued. He should be sued by the writers of Stargate, Contact, Aliens, AI, and 2001. Okay? Maybe all these writers are dead, and that's why he said, I'm just going to rip off all these scripts and just kind of shove it into this into this incredibly awful script. Really, where have we not seen any of this stuff? Any of this stuff at all? It's all been done before, and this guy shamelessly puts it into the film. It makes no sense at all. I just don't get it. But so anyway, going back to Shaw, she has this alien baby in her. She's going to go cut it out. She goes to this surgical pod that does operations. And it's been like, clearly the Vickers character played by Charlize Theron states, don't touch that.
It's mine.
It's very expensive. I don't believe you have the money to pay for it. Words to that effect. So Vickers is a female, supposedly, okay, and this is her own personal medical surgical device. Okay, she doesn't want anybody touching it. So she goes up to get this alien baby creature cut out of her. And you know she's wearing a cross. I guess she's not very Catholic now. You know, it's like I thought that was another thing that was ironic. She's supposedly Catholic. She's wearing a cross. Get this baby out of me and smash its head against the wall. You know, she doesn't really seem to care now. Not too Catholic now, are we? Not so pro-life. I want this baby out. So she goes up. She goes up to this surgical pod and wants to get it cut out of her. And the pod says, configured for male only. Glaring script flaw. Glaring script
Unless
flaw.
they're suggesting something.
Unless they're suggesting, one, Vickers is a robot. Two, Vickers is a bitter transsexual, and that's why she's doing push-ups to relieve her angst when she gets out of stasis. And that would kind of like, you know, describe her relationship with her father, that she actually was a boy who decided to become a girl. Who knows?
That explains the comment that the father made about David being his only chance to have a son.
Exactly. What's up with that? And it would have been cool if they had explored that, but they don't.
They don't.
They don't.
It's a side note.
Maybe Ridley Scott will like work this film like he did Blade Runner, making 50 different edits of it, you know, so he can line his pocket with every different version of Prometheus that he possibly can. Kind of what like Lucas is doing with Star Wars. I can't come up with anything new. I'll just re-edit this film. I put new stuff in it. So she goes and she says, okay, I'm a guy and this is a foreign body. Please cut it out. So it says, okay, I couldn't do a cesarean before, but I can cut this foreign body out. Sure, come on in here. She injects about handily lying around, about like 50 vials of morphine. Okay,
arbitrarily.
It's like I was a medic in the Army. I'm pretty sure that if you kind of like dumped like about 20 like vials of morphine into your body with auto injectors, you'd probably die. But she doesn't.
And how come the alien thing didn't numb up either?
Apparently the alien baby creature is immune to morphine. So they cut this baby out. You know, it's like, and so it's hanging there, and once again it's like, come on, hurry up, staple me up, and then really no sutures. It's just, you know, chunk, staples her up, and she doesn't bleed out or anything like that you would normally have when a pregnant woman is pregnant. There's a lot of blood. She could possibly bleed out, but not her. She
no,
lives.
not her. She can do triple sow cows off the front bow. She can do triple sow
off of it while hyped up on morphine. Yeah, after injecting like 10 vials of morphine, she's able to jump off that table and run down the hallway. Communicating.
I want to talk more about that scene, because where the hell is H.R. Geiger during that scene?
I don't know. I think he's counting his money. I think that's what he was doing. He was probably getting drunk, saying, "I hate my life, but I love this money, and I don't care."
Because the pod is really esoteric. The creature looks like a squid.
The creature looks like a squid. That's another thing that kind of bothered me. I'm a big H.R. Geiger fan. A lot of the stuff is taken from his Necronomicon. It was familiar with his stuff. Necronomicon, I'm sorry. Is familiar with his work. And this is like they had this bizarre blend of his artwork and a style of artwork that totally clashed with his style. His style, dirty, gritty, demonic. The ship, incredibly sparkling clean.
Very 2001.
And very 2001 looking. They didn't seem to jibe at all.
No, it didn't. Artistically.
Artistically, they didn't seem to work well. The film lacked kind of a mood. Like in the other cuts, like for example, and which is really bizarre for a Ridley Scott film. For example, like Blade Runner has this atmosphere, like an old Marlowe film, 1940s film noir kind of film. This atmosphere. Legend has this bizarre kind of hallucinogenic fantasy feel to it. But this film really didn't have any kind of feel or atmospheric hold on it. It seemed to kind of like balance that out between the alien ship and this incredibly sterile, kind of generic ship that didn't really go with the overall feel of the film. It's the same thing with the soundtrack. In Blade Runner and Legend, they had very distinctive soundtracks that suited the film. The same thing with Gladiator. But this has a soundtrack by itself very good, but with this film, not good.
I really did like the music to it, but it was just really, I don't know. That scene again, going back to that scene. I mean, why did that creature like grow up to be as big as a house? I mean, the whole premise
to something to get that big, folks. If you haven't seen this film, it's like a spoiler alert. Don't go see this film. This film is awful. The squid baby, who's supposedly dead, she leaves it there. Later on, it resurfaces as a huge squid. Octopus thing.
With teeth. And
very uninspired looking creature that I don't think Geiger would ever draw something that boring looking. And that's another thing that bugs me, is that, spoiler alert, once again, this squid creature inadvertently saves Shaw's life, impregnates this incredibly generic looking evil alien engineer, and from it pops out an alien. Okay, the creature looks like a squid or an octopus. The engineer looks like a human. Now you would think that the offspring would look like an octopoid kind of human, but no, it looks like an insect. And that's my problem with this film, is there's no consistency to it.
Exactly.
You have slug creatures that turn into octopus. Is it trying to like suggest some kind of evolution? It went from slug to octopus to insect. I don't get it. But genetically speaking, the parents would retain some of the features. Like that
host.
Octopus baby should have kind of looked at least somewhat like the parents. Maybe no.
Yeah.
It didn't make any sense. This film was so bad on so many levels.
I mean, that was one of the premises they tried to establish in the whole Alien series, was that it took on the features of its host. So if the host was humanoid, then the creature should be humanoid. Well, how do you pull a squid baby out of a human? You know,
carefully.
Well, carefully, and it wiggles its way. It wiggles its way out, but it should have had a human head or hands
or something like that. Maybe something grotesque. And that's, I think, once again, I was wondering why they didn't do that, because H.R. Geiger is demented. He could have come up with something really cool. On an off day, Geiger with a cup of coffee and a sketch pad could have come up with something really horrifying.
Yeah, really.
He didn't design that. You can't tell me that he designed that.
No,
that was basically a stock, some kind of thing. It's like, hey, here's some old designs that we had for the Kraken from Pirates of the Caribbean. Use this. I need something that looks kind of like an octopus. Hey, take this one.
Or maybe really he did, and it was too scary to put in the film. It was too scary
because that's another thing. This is a PG-13 film. It's not rated R. I expected to be terrified, but how can you be terrified off of a PG-13 film? You can't.
No, you really can't.
You can't. You can't be scared. You can get some cartoon violence, maybe as they did with Raiders of the Lost Ark, Temple of Doom, heart being ripped out, but you really can't. This film was made to make money, and shamelessly so. And it's probably going to, because a lot of people are going to see it just out of curiosity, and it will make enough to make its budget.
There are some stunning visuals, but there's way too many what I call quote-unquote filler scenes that have no inspiration in them at all.
No inspiration, and once again, and just a waste of talent. There's a scene, for example, that's supposed to imply that maybe Vickers is a robot, but it's a wasted scene with Idris Elba. I'm once again mispronouncing his name. He played Heimdall in Thor. Shows you how much of a nerd I am. I also saw Thor.
Which was a good movie.
But there's a scene where, and once again, I'm wondering if this is just bad direction, God forbid,
or bad editing,
or all of it, or bad, what I call bad CGI acting, meaning the actors are told to react a certain way to a scene that they haven't seen, and then it's supposed to be somehow juxtaposed to look like a true reaction. For example, there's a scene where the captain of the ship, played by Idris Elba, is there, and he's one of the characters who's trapped in a room full of alien slugs, who they try to make friends with, sees a pile of alien corpses that have been mutilated, and the guy's cam shows it, and the captain sees it, and he reacts, oh, alien corpses with their with their chests blown out.
Yeah, a little too non-reactive.
Yeah, kind of non-reactive there, and then goes back to playing the accordion, which I didn't even understand. Was that an attempt to develop the character, give him some kind of dimension? I don't know. There's two other characters
that could have been left out.
That could have been left out, including the other two characters that would have been cool, that seem to be talented actors, that we meet kind of at the end of the film that help crash the ship. Yeah. This whole film doesn't make sense. It is so bad. And once again, there's been this is a rant. I'm just pointing things out that were so bad. I just had to. When you see films like this, you just feel like you've been cheated. Okay?
Yeah.
That you've been ripped off. I mean, we're in a recession. Stuff costs money. And one thing we need is escapism. We need the movies to go see things, to take our minds off of the fact that gas is $5 or so a gallon, that we've been eating off ramen for the past 2 weeks, and this is our only form of entertainment that we're going to have for a month. And we're hoping, based on the pedigree of this film, Geiger, Ridley Scott, aliens, talented actors and actresses, I expected to see a good film, and it was not. It was a bad film. It was a high-budget schlock film, is what that was. So I would say, to sum up, bring it all in. Strangely, however, I did not leave. I still watched, just kind of the fact that I spent far too much money on this film to leave, because it's in 3D, and if you've seen 3D films, I mean, once you get popcorn and stuff, we're up to like, a
good $30, $40 for two people.
That's basically a day. If you earn $10 an hour in the Ozarks doing whatnot, okay, that's a day's pay. A day's pay for this shit. Sorry for the language, but it's seriously, I spent a day's pay on this film, and it was bad, and I feel ripped off. And so, to sum up, it was vaguely entertaining. There's monsters, there's gore, there's Charlize Theron showing her age in a spandex suit. But all in all,
a really weak main character.
All in all, this movie is a rip and not very good. And even though the critics and Rotten Tomatoes and everybody else is saying this film is great, I myself refuse to subscribe to that philosophy that since the critics are saying it's great, it must be great. No, it's not. For example, you'll never convince me that The English Patient was a good film. All the critics said that was a great film to this day. along with Seinfeld's philosophy. I can't get through English Patient without falling asleep, and this film is awful. So that concludes my rant. Once again, if I ripped off any reviews, it's just because I was probably thinking exactly what you were thinking. The scriptwriter, so much talent out there at community college and Starbucks, and people just randomly writing scripts in their notebooks at work, and that's the best script you could find. And that's all I can say. Have a good evening, and I hope you enjoyed this. Bye-bye.